everyone. Welcome to Well Tended Life. I'm your host, Carrie Wilt, a speaker, writer, and heart cultivator who is on a mission to help you grow through any season. I am here for the first of an interview in a series that I'm calling Joy, Goodness, and Growth. And this series was inspired by the words of my great-great-grandmother in her famous book, The Secret Garden. And in it, she says, Mistress Mary always felt that however many years she lived, she should never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. And here's the hard thing is that we always think we're going to remember. We think we're going to remember the joy and the goodness and the growth that's happening all around us, but sometimes life gets in the way and storms get really rocky and rough, and sometimes we don't want to forget. And when we don't take the time to stop down and really recognize it all around us, it can really be hard. It's hard when we're not seeing those good things. And so I really invited some of my friends that you're going to get to meet over the next however many weeks we keep doing this. And today we have with us Lisa Field, one of my good friends and owner of Lucky Star Art Camp out in the Hill Country. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello.
Let's see, we're going to just literally jump in and dive in. I guess maybe dig in would be the better term for the well-tended life. Why don't you just briefly introduce, I know who you are, but introduce yourself to our audience, who you are, what you do, what you're all about, and also give us a little snippet as to kind of where you are in your season right now. We're all going through change, right? There's not one of us that is probably still in the same season we were just a few months ago. And so kind of give us an idea of what's going on in Lisa's world.
I am Lisa Field. I am the mom of 5. My husband, Roger, and I live on a big ranch out in Hunt, Texas. And we have kids ranging from 11 to 27. He had 3 when we got married. He was like the total package.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm a landscape designer for my real job. And on the side, I have a business that where I gather women from all over the U.S. and beyond to come together at a sleepaway camp for a week every fall here in Hunt. And we do things like art, craft, painting, jewelry making, leather tooling, sewing, learning how to play guitar.
Singing by the campfire.
Singing by the campfire. Just get to hang out and do things that we did when we were kids, or there are hobbies, there are things that we don't get to do every day, or we get together to try something altogether new, or just to make new friends, get out of our box, go on an adventure, and just go out and do something a little different. And it's been really a blessing, this whole business, my jobby.
A major side hustle.
It is a major side hustle. That has been a huge blessing for me and my family too. Over the past 8 years, this is the 8th year. We started in 2013. Yeah.
So exciting. Well, I am a camper. I'm a big advocate of Lucky Star Art Camp. It's one of my favorite places in the world. As a matter of fact, this week, just yesterday, I sat down with my 14-year-old daughter, which to get a 14-year-old daughter to sit down to do anything is very, very difficult. And we did paper quilling yesterday together that I learned last time at Lucky Star Art Camp. So trying to, sometimes people think that they, I kept thinking to myself, actually, I got to get away so that I could come back and give this to my kid, that we could have this time together. And so it was a huge blessing for me as well. Literally just yesterday on Mother's Day. So, so talk to me about, yes, you do all the things, but talk to me about kind of what is going on in your world right now, and maybe what has changed a bit, if anything.
Well, a lot has changed, but a lot has stayed the same also. I work from home already, so that part has not changed, but it looks way different because where I normally would have at least a good chunk of, maybe 4 hours by myself each day to do my
Right.
work and to really focus on like my inside work. I just don't have that right now.
No.
There are so many people. We literally have all 5 kids at home now. Okay, so
But you don't wish that on anyone. They're supposed to go away.
okay, but that's one of my joys. So
Oh, yes.
and at first I was like, okay, we
This
can
is
do
happening.
this. It's happening. We're gonna do this. But so we have a 24-year-old who was laid off because he works in a restaurant as a sous chef, and the restaurant closed down.
Right.
So he's been home from day one of the quarantine. And then we have a 23-year-old who was in law school out at Tech, who's now home doing law school from home. And we have a 27-year-old who is a structural engineer at a big firm in Fort Worth, Texas. And she is now home working from here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter who are schooling from home right now. And so, in and out, really, thank the Lord, we have a house and a lodge, and the big kids are based out of the lodge, which is across the creek from our house.
Right.
But all food lives here. So, there's an in and out all day long for coffee and food. And so there's just never that big chunk of time that I need, because I'm the kind of person who I can't have music playing. I can't have someone like flagging me, mouthing to me in the background. Like, I need utter silence in order to focus, because I'm one of those ADHD people who I just require that. So I had a real awakening to how much productivity is I'm like, my self-worth is wrapped up in productivity. Like, that was my light bulb moment at like within like week 3. I was like feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting anything done. And I was feeling like bad about myself for not getting as much done as I felt like I needed to be doing. And then I just kept telling myself, give yourself a break. This is not a normal circumstance. This is, this is big, and just be easy on yourself. And then that's about the time that you and I decided to start doing our meetups again.
Yes.
And like, that has been an enormous help. And I'll just tell everybody.
Yeah, please.
So Carrie and I do this thing each week where we basically check in with one another to hold each other accountable for our jobbies, our dreams, our
side jobs, our side hustles.
Because we got the other covered. It's so easy to let slip that thing that is just for you.
Yes.
And it's so easy to say, okay, I'll put that aside and do the other things. And yeah, you know what? The other things are, I mean, for Carrie, it's like you're feeding your employees, you're paying your employees. For me too, I've got to keep, on my toes with things at work. And so, yeah, those things do have to come first, but we can't let the others slip. And so we have been meeting up once a week just to say, okay, let's check in. What have you done? What are we doing? What's for next week? And then we're just that little bit of time makes a huge difference.
One thing, if we can get one thing done towards our dreams and towards our goals, towards that thing that makes our heart happy and fills us up, we're making progress. And I think you're right. That readjustment right now, I think what everybody goes through when a season changes, right? You got to have to readjust your expectations of what you can do. Think about that season from like no babies to babies, right? Or, from college to, a full-time job, and, life looks different, and readjusting those expectations, I think, is a a big thing that we all need to make sure that we are thinking about, because we may not be able to get the same amount of stuff done.
Yeah.
So what is, let's dive into joy, goodness, and growth. So when I talk about joy, so this is a part of the practice that I do every day in my morning journal time. I sit down and I look at the day before and I think to myself, what is one thing that brought me joy the day before? And joy to me is something that is just that thing that like springs up, makes you smile, laugh your head off, just something off the wall. It doesn't really matter. So what's bringing you joy, like crazy joy, like when you were a kid these days?
So the thing that stands out to me the most is getting to see our youngest daughter, who's 11, get to have her sister here.
Oh yeah.
They're 16 years apart. They've never lived under the same roof, like for more than a weekend or a week of vacation. So this is, I mean,
what a blessing.
It has been so awesome to see them being sisters and having a sister, because they're sisters, but if you don't ever live together,
no,
then you don't get to have that back and forth and that relationship and really get to know each other. And that's happening. And just this morning, literally just before this interview, Dylan, our oldest, said, hey, guess what? I just found out this morning that it's going to be at least 3 more weeks before we go back to the office.
Oh,
she's here for 3 weeks, where we thought we had her for just another week.
Yes, and that gives way more time to solidify that memory and that relationship. Oh, I love that.
Our kids, all 7 of us, including my husband and I, getting to live together under the same roof for this amount of time. And it's been since the Wednesday before Easter when Dylan came down. She was the straggler coming down. And it would have never happened.
No.
You'll see when your kids get out of high school and go on to college, really the college years are, you do get chunks of time with them. But once they get a job, to get a week of time is like huge. But to get week after week after week together, it's the biggest blessing to me of this whole thing for a lot of people. And I know that I can be very Pollyanna-ish. And I also know that there are a lot of people having a really, really hard time. And I do feel guilty. That word guilty comes up in my mind a lot. I live with a creek and a river and acreage and, dogs and chickens and flowers, and I have a job that's outside. I can go to the greenhouse and work. I can work in the garden. I know that my COVID-19 experience is not anywhere near what a lot of people's look like.
Well, but I think if you really look at everybody's life, everyone's looks completely different. There is no standard for how this is going down at all. In anybody's house. Same thing. Ours, I keep looking at people on Instagram that have cleaned out their closets and like organized things at home. And my real job has taken me big time back to work and pulled me away from the home. And so, I'm like, can somebody please just come to my house and clean my closet for me? I need that organization in my life too. But
that 14-year-old daughter needs to be doing.
Oh my goodness. Right. I know. So you kind of really talked about, goodness already. So goodness for me are the things that I'm truly grateful out of this season and out of the day. You mentioned this family time for sure. Is there anything else that you can think of that you're really thankful for out of this?
For me, I have always, I was born with rose-colored glasses on already.
Yeah.
So I am a seer of the joyful things.
I call them secret garden goggles.
Yeah. So, like this screen.
Yeah.
Right here, I wake up to, that's my view out my bedroom window every morning. Talk about bringing you joy. there's a bird nest, a swallow has its nest up here. I
Oh,
get to hear them and doing their little business every morning, feeding their babies. Um, making my hot tea, that's always something that I go back to.
routine.
Those rituals that are simple and they just mean so much, especially in times like these where life is like this.
Yeah.
If you can have those little things that are daily rituals, and they don't even have to be daily because I do nothing daily. I don't even wear deodorant. It's not that person. But like just those things that make you feel normal, making my coffee, doing yoga, just, 30 minutes, just something that makes me feel normal. Spending time with my dog laying at my feet, just like those are the tiny things. I tell you what has been really, really awesome is having our entire family in the kitchen together, cooking dinner and cleaning up after dinner. That has been some good stuff right there. I mean, and I've had to get over the fact that my 11-year-old is hearing the conversations of the 23 and 24 and 27-year-old. You know what? She's going to make it.
And you know what? She's going to translate it differently anyways. Think about all those songs that we heard when we were younger and we'd sing at the top of our lungs. And then all of a sudden you're like,
I was talking about Islands in the Stream or Roger song. Yeah.
Lightning. I mean,
and you're like, oh, what? I had no idea when I was.
She's oblivious to most of it, so I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Yeah, I've just had to get over that. And I think we're all probably having to do a whole lot of that. Letting go, like you said earlier, of the expectations and, readjusting, being flexible, doing what you can to stay normal and just being real, remaining authentic to yourself and your feelings and checking in with yourself. You're better at that than I am with like reflecting on the day. I'm just like, my head hits the pillow and I'm gone, baby, gone.
You can't sit still for long enough.
A whole new life every day. Remember that movie 50 First Dates with Drew Barrymore? I feel like that sometimes. I wake up and I'm like, okay. I have to read it. Like, okay, that was on my list from yesterday.
So is there anything right now, even in the season of high adventure, that you are diligently trying to tend in your life, that you are trying to grow, be that on your spiritual side or within your business? Are there things that you are purposely making sure that you're doing something kind of every day towards? Maybe your fitness. I mean, is there something right now that you kind of have that's like, this one's on the list and I'm not letting go of it?
Kind of all the above there.
Okay.
And it's weird because I don't have extra time. Like, this has not brought me extra time. Work has not slowed down for me. Obviously, there's more time with the kids, so that has not slowed down. But I could feel in my body about week 3, 4, when, I guess it was probably about week 3 or 4 when everything was like, you just started feeling it. Everything manifested into, this thing that is new and these realizations. And I was like, okay, I can't let COVID-19 be the freshman 15. That was
right.
And so like I went online and got this little Beachbody On Demand thing, and I have it in my room now and I can do it on my TV. And I'm just doing these little workouts like whenever I want to. And I'm actually working out with a trainer that I did kickboxing with, on these videos a long time ago. Also kind of like bringing me back to those days after the babies were born. And I just feel, it makes me feel it's familiar. You know what I mean? It's, again, that thing that makes you kind of feel normal. I'm like, okay, I know this girl, even though I don't know. But I'm like, I can work out with her and I can do that. So that was one of my realizations that now has manifested into, all right, I'm taking a little bit better care of myself. I'm walking with the dogs. I started all over from scratch with yoga. Like I did this it was called a 3-week retreat, and it
Okay.
started you literally from the very beginning. And so because I needed to build my strength back up, especially in my upper body. And so I did that. I started with
I did like
reading the
15
Bible.
minutes. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, okay, that's one of the things I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Also this year, I have read more books in 2020 by listening to audiobooks than I have probably in my entire life. I mean, I have listened to so many different audiobooks, and it's been awesome. I've learned so much, and I'm like excited to keep that going.
So
And
here's, go ahead.
I figured out a way with the audiobook to do
Right.
it in a way that is doable for me.
So here's what's interesting. I'm recognizing that you're telling me on one hand that you basically lost time,
Yeah.
right? But yet you're doing more, right? So what's changed? It's efficiency, it's priority, it's fitting it in a way that maybe like you said, I'm not sitting down reading a book because there's all these other things. I'm sticking my audiobook in, and I'm going for a walk at the same time. Like
Yeah.
I think
More
that one of
efficient.
Oh, and I think that sometimes all these rules and all the regulations of like your time now, right? You've got all these other people that are pulling at you. Sometimes that forces us to get really creative
Oh, yeah.
and think of things of like, okay, well, how can I still fit this in? I think it's huge. I
Well,
mean,
listen, I just
it's
had
just
a
making
light bulb
sense.
moment. I'm saving 2 hours a day not driving kids to school.
Yes, I
That
didn't
is
even think
two
about that.
hours a day, 40,
Right.
like at least 2 hours a day that I'm not driving. Okay, so there's that.
Yeah.
Also, in the evenings, Roger and Billy will sometimes cook dinner, and I don't have to
So
even
the
think
load has
about
been
dinner.
taken off of you.
So I just go and do my little workout while they're cooking dinner, and then after dinner, go for a walk. It's like where time has been created, and it has. Yeah, I've been a little more creative about it, but I also have all that time given back to me where I'm not out driving around.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, for a lot of us, the kind of fringe stuff that was put on our plate because we kind of maybe felt like we had to do it, or, a PTA meeting or whatever, all
Yeah.
of those kind of things, have kind of, been scooched off to the side for us, which gives us more time to really focus on those things that we do want to grow.
That's very true. Yeah, it forced everyone to trim the fat and really get down to what's important in life,
Yes.
which I think I'm speaking for most people. We've gotten to see and realize how important our friends are to us because we
Yes.
hadn't been able to get to spend time with them,
Yes.
parents, our extended family, and just being out in the mix. Like, I like that hustle and bustle more than I thought I did.
Yes.
Um, but I also am so happy to get to be at my home that I love and enjoy our yard and our house and being in it more than
Yeah.
usual,
I find I don't take all of those things for granted anymore.
Mm-mm.
Right. I think I appreciate them, like I don't know, I taste them all differently. I sense them
Right.
all differently. I feel them all differently. And when I do get to see friends, it's the ones that I want to spend time with, not the ones that maybe, are a little
Obligation.
further. Obligation, yes, and
Mhm.
and there are those things that you still have to do sometimes, but I'm savoring all of the little interactions that we possibly can get right now.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me. This is such an exciting thing to get to have conversations about the joy, goodness, and growth in our life. Thank you to everyone out there who has been watching or listening. My genuine hope is that somebody out there will hear or see this interview, and that they will begin to see and realize that there is joy, goodness, and growth happening all around you, even in the midst of the storms, even in the midst of the craziness. It's there. If you can just open your eyes to find it, it'll bring joy to your life, just knowing it's there. So if you don't have a gratitude practice or a journal practice, I recommend just getting out a piece of paper every day and writing down one thing that brought you joy, goodness, and growth from the day before. And you'll start to see it everywhere you go once you recognize it's there. And that is it. That is our interview for today.
Thanks for having
Blessings
me.
and blooms, y'all.
Oh my goodness, friends, I had so much fun today talking with my friend Lisa about the light bulb moments she's having, about self-worth, about the goodness of family time, and so much more. I hope you had a good time too. Be sure to check out more about Lisa's adventures and beyond at LuckyStarArtCamp.com, and on all the social medias you can find her at Lucky Star Art Camp. And you don't want to miss our next episode in this series about joy, goodness, and growth as I interview my friend, country and rock artist, Susie Corey. She is such a bright light, and she shares with us about where she believes joy comes from and the importance of reflection. So make sure to follow The Well Tended Life on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe now to our YouTube channel by the same name. And until next time, y'all, blessings and blooms.